Heraclitus was a Greek philosopher who lived in the 5th century BC. One of the things that he said was, the only constant in this world is change. Imagine how Heraclitus would have received his information. Perhaps he received it on wax tablets inscribed. Or perhaps, if he was lucky, got it on papyrus. Or maybe even carved in stone. So then, transport Heraclitus back to the 21st century and imagine what it would be like. He'd go crazy with the volume of information that's coming towards him. And how would he consume that? Would he consume it in papyrus? Would he consume it chiseled in stone? Or would he consume it written on paper? Or would he consume it in print journalism? There's so much information that it becomes impossible. So, in fact, what I'd like to say today is that print journalism cannot compete effectively against online information. Now, there's two main reasons that I would say for this. Firstly, that print journalism is reaching its use-by date. And secondly, the revenue sources are dying, so therefore it makes it very difficult for print journalism to compete in this online world. Back to the first point. Print journalism is reaching its use-by date. Why? Firstly, because people prefer immediacy of choice. You want stuff coming at you straight away. People are more aware of what's out there. People like to check their information. People like to Google it. There's special interest magazines out there that you can set up for yourself. Things like Flipboard or things like Zite. There's Pinterest. And of course, if you want to hear about your friends or your local news, you'd go to Facebook. So firstly, people like that immediacy of choice. Secondly, there's better ways of consuming information these days, rather than reading it. For instance, there's movies. So the movies contain sound. There's targeted searches. You can search for anything. I was going to fix my Subaru Legacy car door the other day. I didn't have to go out and buy a user manual. It was there in a movie on Facebook that I was able to take down on my iPad and do the job in half an hour. There's news aggregation. So if you want news, you can go to Google News. Google News aggregates news from all around the world, as do many other sources. So print journalism's reaching its use-by date basically because people prefer immediacy of choice and there are better ways of consuming that information. The second major point that I'd like to make is that the revenue sources for print journalism are diving, making it difficult to compete. Real estate. If I'm interested in real estate, which I am, I just go to realestate.com.au and they send me an email every time a house comes up in Kenmore, the suburb I live in, that's under a certain amount of money. I don't have to go searching through the newspaper to get that information. Cars. Who'd bother going through the newspaper to search for cars these days? You go to carsales.com.au, you get every make and model in every part of the country in Australia and you can compare the prices of them. It's fantastic. And then you can do you can do specific searches on them as well. General stuff. General stuff, where do you go to? You go to eBay. Or in Australia you go to gumtree.com.au. So there's plenty of sources now for information that take the revenue away from the traditional print journalism. For instance, in Australia, in 2006, the revenue for advertising for print journalism sources was around $5 billion. In 2013, that had shrunk to $2 billion. So from 5 to 2 in that short period of time. And where did the revenue go? It went to online sources. That comes from a study done by the University of Canberra. Now, so not only are there other ways of finding this information, without revenue there isn't any production. Without production there's no circulation. Remember the days when there was morning and afternoon newspapers? Yeah, well we don't need them anymore. We don't need them because we've got these other online sources for them. So the revenue sources are diving because of the fact that because it's going to make it difficult to compete because people are going elsewhere for their classified advertisements and the papers aren't circulating. Now that's a very short and brief overview of what I'd like to say, but I'm saying that print journalism cannot compete effectively against online information basically because one, like Heraclitus's stone tablets, they've reached their use-by date and they're going out very soon. And secondly, the revenue sources available to them are diving. Thank you.